Hello and welcome to this edition of Life Made Easier, Living from the Inside Out.
Hello and welcome to Life Made Easier podcast. My name is Leslie Patak. It's a pleasure to have you on my show today. There are really those rare occasions when you meet somebody in your lifetime, when you come across certain individuals, and then internally you kind of say to yourself, man, I just want to be their best friend because they do something, they light a fire in you, or they inspire you, or they'll bring you some sort of a joy, but you know the feeling, and you just want to be their friend. You just want to be like their best friend. And you want to emulate certain aspects of them. And today on Life Made Easier podcast, I have just that guest for you. And her name, my guest, please help me introduce her. She is probably the perfect poster child for such an occasion of meeting these people. So I would like you to really meet today's guest, my special guest. She is the founder of Be the Difference Clothing. She's also published our author of two very special books that I found very inspiring for myself. The first one is Self-Reflections. They're quotes that make you reflect, within ourselves, and quotes that have you, let's see, it says quotes that you have awe. Something, it's like quotes that you have awe. I have both of the books here, but I really want to please welcome my guest, Joy. And Joy, welcome to Life Made Easier podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And you know what? The fact that you paused is because that's what those quotes make you do. It just makes you think.
They do.
So it's just definitely, you're right on, spot on.
Yeah, I actually have the books right here because there's quite a few of them in the book, quite a few quotes in these books that I really wanted to discuss with you as well. But first of all, Joy, the last time we spoke, I asked you just a question. It was like a fly question, remember? And I said, what inspired you to do this? I mean, what really? Because honestly, there's that saying, we wear our heart on our sleeves, right? When you just are, and you're one of those people, but you go one step further and say, wear your heart on your chest, wear your heart on your back, right? So it's like, you can just like wear your personal mission or quote or statement or self-expression on what you do. So please share that with people, what it is that inspired you to do what you do.
So basically, just to emphasize what you're saying about wearing your inspiration, I have it on now.
Yeah.
High vibrations only. And I believe we are all creatures of absorption. And the more we see something or anything is what we become. So if you continuously see something that's positive, you have no choice but to positive, whether you realize it or not. It's just a subconscious thing. But how I really started in this particular field that I'm in now, I was working with a Christian rap artist. That fizzled out. Started going to the gym 7 days a week. Then I had a horrible admission to make. After the gym sessions, like 2 or 3 sessions, I would go home and have snacks like Snickers bars, ice cream, all of that. And as a gym enthusiast, that's like a big no-no. So one day I just felt it in my spirit to say it on a social media platform. And when I did, one of my relatives responded and said, you should make a shirt. And that's pretty much how it sparked. The first shirt was called Work Hard, Snack Harder. Then I took it up to the next level because, again, I saw something that transformed my entire life. I was driving home from a church event and I saw someone stuck backwards. Now, I've seen people under the influence, but I've never seen anyone under the influence where their whole entire body was all the way backwards. And it was just swaying, just backwards and swaying. Like your face, and this is your butt. Their entire body was backwards and just going like this. So as I drove by, the first thing that hit me or I thought about was when they were a toddler, I'm pretty sure they never thought or could have imagined that they would become a professional addict. And, just the joy and laughter of seeing kids, like years later, this is what happens. So, I can't judge because I don't know what happened. A lot of times I'm just going to segue a little bit, but a lot of times we can judge and think that people purposely try substances or whatever, but you have no idea. What if that person got kidnapped and drugged? What if that person got slipped a roofie? What if that person was doing what every teenager or majority of teenagers do, which is try stuff, but did not know that in their bloodline, their DNA, that addiction was running deep. A lot of people are adopted and don't know their true genetics. So anyway, as
I
I
think
drove
that I
by,
just want to put this in there for a minute. I think that's interesting that you brought that up because, and I'm not certain exactly why I know, but I'm going to let you share that. But I think it's very important, and I'm so grateful that you shared that because honestly, there are, with legal like medications, right? Legal things that help people with depression or anxiety. I mean, 48% of the American population is on some sort of medication, like prescribed medication, right? For anxiety, depression, whatever it is. But then if you look at the amount of people that use recreational drugs, right? That's skyrocketing. That's like huge. I mean, I don't think it's rare for me to come across somebody that does not use drugs, that doesn't do edibles, that doesn't smoke pot, or that doesn't do some sort of recreational drug or non-recreational drugs, right? So yeah, it's a huge concern because people just, I mean, we go through all kinds of stuff like, people in the military, they come home and they don't have the proper, you know,
support.
they don't have the proper support and they just don't know how to shift back into it, right? They just are sent home. Thank you for your service. We'll see you. Bye, right? Here's a weekly or a monthly check, maybe, that helps you, that is absolutely ridiculous compared to what they did, right? They don't have any, they just don't have that shift. They don't have that transition. And they can really lose their minds. And it's sad to me. It's so sad to me. But then there's losses, people lose their families, people get divorced, there's all kinds of reasons that people suffer these traumas and they just don't want to feel anymore, right? I mean, I know that there was a time in my life I just didn't want to feel. I didn't want to feel. I didn't do drugs. I just didn't feel, right? So I see what you're talking about. And it is serious. It is a serious thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's and just like you said, like when people come back home, there's no transition, no delicate like let's move you back, like because they spend how many months preparing to go,
Yeah.
right? Shift the mindset. It took that long to shift the mindset, but when it comes back, there's no preparation time to shift the mindset back to a civilian.
Exactly. I never even thought of that. That's amazing.
I didn't either till just now.
I mean, they train for what? I don't know how long basic training. That's six
Like a
months,
year
six,
at
12 months.
least,
I don't
at
know.
least a year.
Yeah, and when they come home, there is no training to come back into. That is something we are really going to have to.
Crazy.
I actually have a podcast coming up with a man that's talking exactly about this, and I'm really going to bring this to his attention. Perhaps maybe I should include you on that podcast because that's
Anytime,
profound wisdom.
anytime. But it's just is it designed that way or is it just a loophole? These are different questions that we should be holding people accountable for. But yet we're so evenly and easily distracted about things that we cannot tangibly touch. But human beings we can, you know? So once I drove past that person and that thought went by, all I heard was a still voice that said, well, what are you going to do about it? And it was so still that, like, I was like, what you mean? I answered back, like, what do you mean? Like, I can't stop and do anything. But then my wheels started turning and addiction kills the family came up. And I wanted it to look and feel like what it could possibly do, right? So I had bear claws just rippling through the name, addiction kills the family. Because as soon as we read that, right, you automatically think of your family. And then when you see bear claws ripping that apart and the actual little literal blood streaming down or dripping down from those words, that has to do something.
And that was
Whether
actually a
you know
vision
a
in your
person,
head that you had over what can I do?
that was what I did because I said, I don't want to just leave it up to substance abuse because there's a lot more addictions out there. Like we always like to make one thing be the leading cause, but there are so many other causes. We have
Exactly.
people who are addicted to TV, are addicted to gambling, alcohol, are addicted to pornography, are addicted to working, cell phone, anything. My thought is anything that takes away from potentially building up your family or having family bond can be an addiction. And it's a conversational piece so that we can come back together and heal. Because what you touched on earlier, everything, the commonality in all of those situations is traumas. There's a bunch of people who have been traumatized through different situations, scenarios, and have never had the proper due process or grace to heal, or have the fortitude or the steps to be given how to heal. Right? So we just keep going, because we got to get that money. We have to make that bag. But emotionally, we're just left out to just sink.
And then they say, get a thicker skin, get a thicker skin, get a thicker skin. Let it roll off your back. But you know what?
Yeah, self-help books.
Right.
Go get the self-help book.
Right.
That's not what humanity was intended for. Because if that were the case, then we would all have our own little islands, and we never would have to have children, get married, have relationships with friends. We wouldn't need all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see exactly. Yeah, that's so you did this shirt with the. Tell me about that shirt, because that's amazing.
Yeah, so the addiction kills the family. I'm literally going to bring it back. So the idea, it has the words addiction kills the family is in white, kills is in red. Because like when you think of killing, it's blood, right? And then family stays white because white is neutral, love, all of that other stuff. But then when you have the actual ripping, you can't tell what it is, but it's really like, I think at the time when that came out, it was the movie where it was the bear. There was a movie where the guy was in the wilderness and he was brutally attacked by a bear. He survived, but it was just, the bear was tearing him up. So after watching that movie freshly, and I'm just like remembering that scene of how it tore his skin open. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was really good. But then I said, I want that effect.
I could not have watched that movie.
No, but this was a real life story. And this was back in about 2013, 2014. And it was really big in the movie theater.
Joy, do you remember that a long time ago? I think it's probably late 90s, early 2000. And they used to have that thing about move that bus. Weekly, they'd have this thing where people would go in and they'd refurbish their house because it was falling apart. And they'd say, move that bus. And they redid their house and made it so that it was livable. I used to cry with that. I would pace I couldn't, I can't do horror stuff. I can't do things. And I know it's not horror like what you're talking about, but I just, anything that hurts somebody or causes pain,
It was sad. It was a sad movie, but it was just like he still survived after all of that. I don't know. It was definitely one of those tear-jerking type movies to know that somebody was going through that kind of pain, and it was wintertime. Yeah. It was just reality, though. That was just reality for that, time frame, that period, how everybody lived out in the wilderness and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I can't watch scary movies now, though, especially because I'm so sensitive. I always start to like the paranormal videos. I can't watch those.
Yeah, no.
Because I believe it's so true. Like, I don't even want to get into it, but like those are things that I'm super sensitive about, and I could never watch it. Even with a friend, I couldn't.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. I just feel things so. I mean, I'm super sensitive, right? I think it's like ultra sensitive, and I can't do it because I can feel people's stuff, right? You feel the stuff that surrounds you, and I have to be really careful about the people that I surround myself with because I can take it on, and I don't think it's. I mean, for me now, it's like what's mine. I'm learning what's mine, what's not mine, right? We had a conversation the other day about something, about an interaction that I had, and you said it's not yours, Leslie, it's somebody else's. I'm like, you are my new best friend, Joy. I swear you are my new best friend. But she didn't live in New Jersey.
Yep.
So I want to, first of all, look at your books, because
that's part 5.
Oh, these books. I'm telling you what, my friend, these self-reflection quotes that make you reflect. And let me just tell you what, they make you reflect. And it's not a reflection it's a reflection, and the only thing you can get from it is wisdom. That's what I love about everyone. The only thing you can do is, it makes you think, and you gain it. I gained a lot of inner wisdom. And it also makes you, it humbles you. It brought these things to me that said, you know what, Leslie, you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just fine. So I want to read. I mean, I have like just so many of these in this book, and then I just have just a couple of this one that I want to go over because I want you to share. I know that there's a lot of them, and thank God this podcast is real. I don't care because I think people need to hear this. The first one is this: adjustments are so much easier when you simply adjust. How profound is that?
It's just a sentiment of life is that simple, but we make it more difficult always.
Right, right. So here's the next one. When you accept the norm as such, you become it. So what does the norm?
The norm is, basically look at the life that we're living now, the time frame of living that we are. If we continuously just accept this, we're just like become like a zombie, and we're not supposed to be zombie-like followers. We're supposed to be making stands and change. And just like how nature is beautiful, we should be emulating that. And the norm as it is just clashing. Everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to be first. No one wants to feel like second is beautiful or third is beautiful. At least you try. It's just, you want to be normal. You want to be normal, then something's not right. There's a lot of dysfunction in normalcy that we have created.
What leads us to this one? The biggest human flaw: missing teachable moments. I think that is.
I guess that's just like talking about the lessons that we have to go through sometimes. If we don't learn it, we continue to get the same thing in a different scenario, in a different person or a situation. That's what that means.
Hidden gems need to be uncovered. That's our responsibility.
Wait, say that one again.
Hidden gems need to be uncovered. That's our responsibility. That one's powerful.
That's your goals, your ambitions. That's the hidden gem.
Yourself, ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right.
Our purposes, like
know who you are so you can know why you're here, and create the reason why you're here. Right. That was my biggest thing when I went through. God hit that reset button in my life, and it was like, who are you? Not a clue. Right. And for you to say, why are you here? I'm like, because I was born. I mean, I just didn't know. And most of us, I don't think we do. So that one hit home. So these two, here's two more, because these are really big. Time to shock the system with the system.
Yeah, I think that's self-explanatory.
You think, okay. When you've already made up your mind, can't nobody stop the flow.
Yeah, well, it's basically kind of like that fight or flight. Are you really gonna jump, or are you gonna just stand there on the ledge and like slip and fall? Just jump. It's just jump. Let's go. Once we start letting go some of the control of our own lives and allow God, creator, whoever you believe in, that actually leads us, we're the big army that's behind you. Once we start allowing them to do some of the work, taking flight is not going to be bad. It's not going to feel scary or as scary because and you're using your faith to be like, listen, you said you want to take care of me, so let's go.
That's true. And I think that along with that, you can say, we can either slip and fall right, or we can just follow that guidance. And because, when you have, and I know this for a fact, when you have that guidance and you allow them and you have unwavering trust and faith, they give you wings. In fact, they are your wings. And you will not fall, you will not slip. But let me tell you what, your wings will just get stronger and stronger, and you can fly just to heights that are unbelievable when you just trust, right? You just trust. Okay, here's another one. Your biggest pain became your inspiration apart from you. No need for justification.
That could go anyway.
Right.
That could be someone, it could be a person, or it could be a situation that happened, and it actually goes back to that other quote where you're talking about the lessons. We all go through painful lessons, whether it be platonic, family, relationship, work, whatever the case may be. But there's always something that we can learn from each of those things and put it in our backpack of faith and maturity and also just experience. And when those particular things start to rise up in different forms of our lives, we can address it faster. So that's what that means.
Note to self: don't take advice from someone who don't take advice.
Yes.
That's huge. That reminds me, there's those people that they want to tell you what to do, or they give you advice, but when you go to give them advice, they have every excuse in the world, right? Or it just, yeah.
They're living in judgment. Not necessarily criticizing you, but they're forgetting that, the application is on both sides.
Right.
So if you're telling me to have faith in God, but you yourself don't have faith Don't be listening to that. You can't. It doesn't work. Imagine if we practice doing that in all of our areas, in all the areas of our lives. Like you said, the wings would be so much more strong. We would have more confidence. We wouldn't allow too much stuff to go on. We would be shocking the system with the system. Everything could be tied right back in. Everything that you said, every quote that you've read, we're able to tie it back into something that I was just talking about. That's amazing.
I sat here and I was really thinking about, 'cause, I mean, it's been a year since we really started this, and then some things happened in my life that I had to work out. But then I contacted you again, and honestly, Joy, you're the only one I did from that period. I couldn't get you out of my mind, right? And I just contacted you, and something just kept saying. But I was sitting here, and I was just talking, right? It's like, okay, Holy Divine, how can we utilize joy to better humanity? How can we utilize her? Right? How can we do this? I mean, and right before, when I was in the bathroom before I started this podcast, that's what they said. They said, Leslie, a lot of people wear their hearts on their sleeve. And I'm like, oh, they're brilliant. I mean, when you have this relationship, it's like, it just makes you smile. I mean, I just can't stop smiling, because it just doesn't get any, life does not get any better until you put on those wings that they give you, right? When they become your wings and you start to fly, life just gets. And does that mean you don't have hard times or struggles? You still have them, but let me tell you what, and you understand why you're having it, right? And they help you make choices and decisions. Okay, Leslie, it happened. Yeah, it wasn't very pleasant, and yeah, that you're struggling with it. And they kind of like, well, what are you gonna do, right? There have been days, when you sit and soak in bed for like days and days, they'll finally just yell at you and say, "Get the hell up!" Right? They seriously will. They'll say, "Just get up," because you can sleep when you're dead. That's what they've told me before. You can sleep when you're dead, Leslie. I said, okay. Anyway, let's go on. Here's a good one too. Everybody pays for your actions. Signed, history. That's good. Self-expression or self-explanatory.
It's like today we're setting the precedent for 5 years from now. So today's conversation is creating the blocks of whether we're going to continue to go higher or stay stagnant or go lower. And I was talking about this on one of the lives that I usually do. And I was saying it was about manifestation. And I said, it's beautiful for us to want to manifest, but we have to be, one, very, very, very strategic and very descriptive about what we want. Two, before we even do any of that, we need to pray and ask our maker, God, whoever, is this something that's going to be better quality for my life? And can you cater it, my mind to receive what the picture is and my mind to receive what is not? Because we've been conditioned to always think that beauty is picture perfect. But a lot of times that beauty is that toad, that frog, the Shrek, you know what I'm saying? The things that don't look as appealing, but it's the best thing for you. Once you actually uncover and see the purity of that heart, it actually matches better for you than the most beautiful thing that you could have created in your mind as beauty. So yeah, once you just let go of that wheel and then say, okay, I'll move forward with my descriptions, but help me keep in my mind to be open so that I can receive it,
Maybe I would be perfect if you stop. This is good. Maybe I'd be perfect if you'd stop trying to find reasons why I'm not. Signed, self-love.
Yeah.
Good.
That could be either or. That could be people doing it to you or you doing it to yourself.
Yeah, or you doing it to other people.
That part.
Right? Ain't nobody dying for you but you. That was huge. Ain't nobody dying for you but you. Start showing up for yourself.
I didn't even remember writing that.
Huh?
I didn't even remember writing that.
Oh yeah, it's right here. Let me show you. Don't have page numbers, but let me tell you what.
Yeah, no, I don't. I purposely didn't put page numbers because every time you open it, it should be to something that is vital for what you need that day.
Nothing great stands the test of time like honesty and integrity. This one, I want it on a shirt, because to me, it's like when I went on my little healing journey and it was like when I got that second chance, like to live again, right? And God and I had this holy war, and I just thought, I'm just going to live and be the best person I can be. This time around, I'm going to live my greatest, to me, Christ-like life. And everything else from there just came. You know, it's like living from the inside out. It just came to me one day. Life made easier. That's what life made easier is all about. It's like when you live your personal truth, right? Your morals, your values, your standards, your principles. It's like the honesty and the integrity, but you live it. I mean, we all say you shouldn't steal and you shouldn't lie, but then you have to I mean, are you really looking at yourself? How often are you dishonest, right? How often are you doing the things that you're criticizing other people for? And I tell you, I am so hypersensitive about what happens to my soul now because it took me a lot to get it to where it is now. And I had bought some stuff at the store a couple weeks ago. And the guy didn't charge me for one of the items that I bought. And it was only like $1.25. But I'll tell you what, I went back to the store because I went through the receipt and I knew it, but I made a point and I went back to the store and he just looked at me kind of funny and I said, my soul is worth more than $1.25. My soul's worth more. But you know, I've noticed when I do things like that, right? When somebody tries to shortchange me or what have you, when I pay in cash, I'll get that feeling, right? Whatever you put out, you get back. So when you do this, it comes around, and people are so hypersensitive when things start happening to them. It's like everybody always cheats me. Well, who are you cheating? And when you try to cheat others, you really figure it out. You're just cheating yourself, right? That's what happened. Okay, here we go. Some would rather risk losing everything to get nothing.
That's like selling your soul. You just said it. You just said it. You know, you get nothing when you sell your soul. You get nothing.
Look at this one. My soul is no longer for sale. That was the next one. That's too bad. This is like all like it's like divinely orchestrated. I mean, I'm sure that they're just singing away. The only person you should have trusted in the most, you trusted the least. You. That's huge. That's really big. It's amazing how it's amazing how we can push people away enough to prove they should have never existed. Cheers to proven theories.
How many times have we pushed love away and said, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be because no, you literally just said, get out. How many times have we pushed advancement in your work environment away? I don't deserve it. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the degree. They don't like me. How many times have you pushed opportunities to like inspire someone away? You know, it hits every area of our lives. And this is why it goes back into, you know, in the Bible verses where they talk about be slow to speak, be slow to speak, be slow to speak, be quick to listen, slow to speak. We shouldn't be talking as much as we do.
Yeah, that goes back to we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
Speak once, but listen twice. Like listen twice as much as you speak.
Segue. I'm writing my 6th book right now.
Really?
Yeah. I'll give you a sample of one of the quotes. I've never shared it with anybody. This one's good. So the biggest disappointment when people only value you when other people value you.
That's big. That's huge.
And a lot of us go through that. That's just one.
That's really big. You know, and that's so true because how many times, and that goes a lot with gossip, right? How many times have you heard somebody say, oh, well, I had this experience with this person and da da da. I had a lot of that going on when I was a flight attendant for like a year. But it's like, and then the stories get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? As it goes on, and then that whole thing just, yeah, it's gossip. But then how many of us have, you know, and whether it was true or not, this situation scenario, but how many of us been in those situations where we experience somebody in a vulnerable state, right? And then if we experience somebody in a vulnerable state, that doesn't give us the right to gossip about it. That doesn't give us, because we've all been in those vulnerable states before, right? Just keep your mouth shut. Shut up and just look at that person and do whatever you can to help them out of it. Don't just run your mouth. Tell people about it. We all have embarrassing moments and such. Leave it alone.
And my thing about it, the reason why I wrote that is more so like when you've got an opportunity to get to know people or a person, but you don't care for them, but everybody else is like, yo, these are the X, Y, Z reasons why they're dope. And then all of a sudden now you're like, oh, yeah, I see it now. When you had the opportunity firsthand to experience it yourself, but you totally threw it away because it wasn't popular opinion.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's also times when we accept things that we wouldn't really normally accept, but only what we do because it's the trendy thing, right? Or they're the in person. Oh, they always want to be, popular, and they want to be the popular kids and such. And yeah, I remember in high school I hung out with the popular kids for one day, the popular girls, and they skipped school and they went into these little clothing stores and and they were looking at all this stuff, but nobody bought anything. But when they came out and they got in the car, they started like taking their clothes off, right? But they had taken things at the store, but layered clothes over clothes over clothes, and they'd stolen this stuff. That was the first and last day I hung out with the most popular kids in
He's
school.
like, I don't want to be popular.
Yeah, it was like, wow, right? If you'd have got caught yet, I don't know. So here's the next one. Your purpose never leaves you. It eventually comes back.
Yeah, that's a personal one for everyone. It's just like we run away from ourselves so often. Eventually, you have to face yourself, and that's when you hit that patch of like, I guess you can call it your midlife crisis, whether it be like in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. Like you finally have been stopped and put in your place to be like, now you have to focus on you. Now you have to figure out why things have been so chaotic and realize that it's just because of traumas that have happened in your childhood. And it doesn't even have to be like really bad ones. It's just these little slight nuances that end up becoming fearful things, fear factors in our lives. So once you have to look at that and really look at yourself and see who you are and be like, now I have to build up this person that actually has to choose or has the opportunity to choose what they want and what they like and understand what they want or what they like. Because before then, you were told when you go from grammar school all the way up into college, X, Y, and Z is supposed to be the way your life is. In some subtle ways, and other ways, very out there. So when you have to fend for yourself, finally, your soul meaning, that's when you have that moment.
The best weapon you have to defeat anything is right in the mirror.
Wait, say that again? I don't know what to say about that one.
Don't be so heavily distracted by people who don't want to be distracted by you. I love that one. I have to say that again. Don't be so heavily distracted by people who don't want to be distracted by you. Oh, and gentlemen, by the way, Joy is single and she is freaking amazing. So just putting that out there a little bit.
Yeah, hit me up in the DMs.
But she doesn't put up with anything, but you better pay close attention. Here's the next one, the last one in this book that I have. God has a purpose for each person in our lives. Ooh, this was good. Find out the plan so you can live out your purpose. That was good.
That's good. It surprised me. I was like, really?
God has a purpose for each person in our lives. Find out the plan so you can live out your purpose. That's really huge because everybody that comes into my life, I look at it and I say, what is it that I can gain from this, right? Are they going to add, they're always going to add value to us, whether it's through something negative within them or something positive within them, right? That we feel. It doesn't mean they're necessarily negative or positive, but however we feel it's going to benefit us, right? If somebody's like you're like the most happy sunshine person. I just think I just want to be just like her, right? So that's one thing, but then there are times when you look at people and they're not so happy and they're not so positive or they're not so supportive or looking at the brighter side of things. And that can also teach us, right? That's hope I'm not like that.
We all have our days when we're like that. We can't keep up with always being happy all the time because again, there's gonna be situations that we have not addressed that come in different forms. So then when we realize, wait a second, this keeps happening in different ways, that's when you get to address it. And everybody goes through, including me, everybody goes through time periods of like, why me? What did I do? What did I ever do to deserve this? You know what I mean? We all go through it. That's the human experience. But it's how you handle it and how long you allow it to linger in your life is all of the, that's whether you pass the test with flying colors or you have to go back to the drawing board.
Right. That kind of brings up that thought. God doesn't give you any more than you can handle. I cannot tell you how many times I've said, God, really? I mean, really?
Hey, stop.
It's
Stop testing me.
What do you see in me that I am obviously missing? Because I need I need a little bit of that, right? I need a little bit of that, whatever you've got. Okay, this is the quotes that make you say ah or ooh. From Instagram to your hand. That I thought was so funny. From Instagram to your hand. Quotes that make you say ah. Couldn't put two and two together until I found the one.
2, 2, 1. Yeah.
So tell us about what
It's
you
like
got.
basically like you found your match. Found like everything just flows so much better when you find the one. Like that's utopia, in my opinion.
So when I think about this from my personal perspective, they always say where two or more are gathered when you pray or when you're looking for answers. When two or more are gathered, there's God, right? And for a long time, I thought I always had to be with another person. But then I realized through this communication, they said, Leslie, whenever you come to us, that's two. When the two come together. And I thought, that made a lot of sense, right? But then you can say when two people, and it all comes when you come together in love and honesty and vulnerability, right? Yeah, that's good. Humanity is better when we do things together. Go
It
ahead.
goes back to shocking the system.
Right. There was something that you had said, and I have it. I wrote it down. Here we go. If you stopped supporting people based on the level of their support, frankly, they would be a lot less blessed. That's huge. That's huge. Let me see that again. If you stop supporting people based on the level of their support, frankly, they would be a lot less blessed. That is so true in so many aspects of life. Because they say, so many times people will say, well, I've done so much for you, but you're not doing anything for me, right? But we don't, and then I'm not going to do anything for you anymore. But I think the part that's missing there is the fact that we gain so much within ourselves by doing things for other people. And for me personally, when I am at my lowest, by doing something for somebody else, it actually brings me up to where I can do things for myself. Does that make
Takes your
sense?
mind off of it.
Yeah.
Takes your mind right out of it.
Right. If you can't see your dopeness, how will anyone else?
Heal from them traumas.
Stop clogging up. This is so good. Stop clogging up your soul with defeat. That's really good. Some will never be honest, so they'll never be free in freedom.
Yeah, that's a play off of the honesty equals freedom t-shirt. That's wordplay right there.
So tell us about that shirt.
So basically, I was doing Hello World, the talk show that I used to do every day. And somehow I correlated that if we really want freedom, it's not what we're told we need to fight for. It's actually internal. Because if you're actually honest with yourself about everything in your life and how it's going, there's no way in the world that you would be held in bondage because you're already free. You're like, well, listen, I've already exposed my own self to myself, so I'm actually free. So it's not the stuff that we're fighting for. It's all about the journey, about your personal journey and how free you are. Because isn't it more freeing when you could be honest with how you truly feel about a certain thing about your body or about you or about a situation? Doesn't the weight come off your shoulder when you're just like, you know what? Today is really not a good day. Versus if somebody's asking you how your day is, and you're like, it's okay. That's holding bondage. But if you respond like, today's not a good day, that takes the load off. There's your freedom. And it's not a consistent freedom, it's moments of freedom when you need it the most so that we can escape the bondage of what we see daily, that we can't control.
Right, right.
That unless we're there ourselves, we don't know how true that is because there's a lot of actors. There's a lot of Hollywood sets. Like, how do you know that that's true or not?
I heard it say one time that it's like just a common saying when people ask you, and it's only really in the United States. It was a study that I read when people actually ask another person, "How are you doing?"
They don't really want to know.
Really of how the person's feeling, they always say, "Oh, I'm good," or "I'm well. How are you?" Right? And it just seems to be this friendly thing. And I thought, what would it be like if somebody actually said, "I'm not really doing too well today"? What would that other person do? Would they stop and
you hit the head on a nail because that brings back humanity. Because automatically you're going to be like, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? Regardless. Even if it's a perfect stranger, you want to rescue. That's what our human nature is about. We rescue and nurture. If somebody literally sat there and said, I'm not having a good day, you're going to be like, what? Like, is there anything I can do? That's just your fight or flight reaction.
Not everyone's though.
I don't really foresee many people be like, okay, and then walking away. I really don't.
I do. I think that what you're saying is, oh, and I think that a lot more people are coming around to being to the point where they would say, yeah, let me help you or whatever, right? Or show some sort of concern. I think that's increasing more and more every day, only because of the positive things that we're seeing going on around the world with us. I think that what's happening in our government right now is really contributing a lot more to society than we truly, are actually giving it credit, because it's somebody standing up for what they believe in, regardless about what people do, think, and say, around them, around the world. They're standing up for what's right, right? And I think that because Donald Trump and Elon Musk and these people are standing up and saying, hey, this isn't right, a lot more people are getting on that bus. They're getting on the bus to the high road. And I think that as we watch this happen, I think more and more people, I think it's going to be like a domino effect, that people are going to really start standing up for themselves and for what they believe in, because of what they're seeing on such a large scale within the governing aspect of our country, right? Of our nation. I think that I might be far-fetched, but I don't think so. I think that it's going to have a lot broader impact than people really give it.
I mean, since October, November, I have been trying to tell people, like, life is no longer going to be the same way that we're used to. Things are I just didn't know what that meant, but I said, it's not going to be the same, but it's going to be in a good thing. It's going to be in a good way. It's going to make us have to, like you just said, fend for ourselves. For the very first time, we have to be real adults. We have to be mature enough to learn how to cultivate land, understand financial literacy, and not pay so much attention to the distractions, because now we have to really focus on getting things for ourselves. I think I know that's how life is going to be from now on, and I prepared myself already. So I honestly do not care what goes on with things that I can't tangibly touch. I know that I can positively affect what's in my circumference. You know what I mean? Like, whether it be a daily thing or all the time. People. I believe God, my maker creator, is going to take care of me because they said it. And it was said in the word. I believe the word. I'm walking by that faith. You don't want me to call you a liar because you say you're not a liar? Then fine, take care of me.
I did the same thing. Yeah, it's right. If you say you're really going to be there for me, then be there for me, because
I haven't missed anything.
Right?
I'll tell you that much. I have not missed a beat. So
here's the next one, Joy. How much more living do you have to live before you realize life is a gift?
It's rather fortunate when we find out how much of a gift we really are. Like, we made it to be however old we are, with whatever capacity of health that we have and a sound mind. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of infants don't get that.
Right.
A lot of adolescents don't get that. A lot of toddlers don't get that. A lot of teenagers don't get that. Imagine only getting old enough to where you might get married or not even having your first kiss. Like, it's a blessing when you've already been able to have all of those experiences, but some will never, ever have that experience. It's a gift.
It's true. Life is truly a gift. And I don't think I think, sometimes we look at it and we say, well, oh, but I was born without this, and I was born into a poor family, or I was born into, yeah. And then people that are born into wealthier families say, yeah, I was born into a wealthy family, but nobody was ever there for me. But where you could be born into a lower economical family and have everything, like all the love and possibly that you could imagine, right? I think that it just depends on everything that comes into our life. We're born into the exact specific situations and places that we were supposed to be born into. But I want to talk about that. I want to read this last one, and then I want to talk about that. Do you really think giving up will make it all go away? Nope. Just keep pushing. That was good. Who would have imagined you'd be forever? Who would have imagined you'd be my forever? That's pretty good for somebody that needs to, that's somebody's, because I'm single. I couldn't get any more single, right? I couldn't get any more single than I am right now. I saw this guy had a hat on the other day and he said, I'm so single, it's pathetic. I thought,
Aw.
it would be more pathetic if you were somebody that you didn't want to be with, right? Or somebody that you were just tolerating with, or somebody that you just plugged in because they were there, right? They didn't let your heart on fire. They didn't make your soul come alive, right? So many people stay in these relationships just because there's somebody there. They don't, I don't know, but that's another thing. Here's the last one. We all deserve to be what the difference looks like. That is huge. I have to say that again. We all deserve to be what the difference looks like. And this is perfect because of what I wanted to share with you. So much of society is wrapped up in the therapy and stuck in, but it's our childhood. It's our childhood. Your childhood traumas, your childhood this, because we didn't come from these ideal situations, right? We're all blaming our childhood on things, about the families that we're born into, the experiences that we have. But honestly, not one of us, and including myself, because I used to tell people, you want to know where I grew up? If you looked up dysfunction in the dictionary, you'd see my family portrait, right? That would be dysfunction. But as now that I'll be 58 this month, actually on the 17th, in 17 days, or in 16 days. Now I look at it, and I want to tell people, that spot that you were born into, and those aspects of your childhood that you are so desperately trying, that you're so upset about, that caused so much disruption within you, that is why you're here. That's why you're here, to experience that. Because here's my theory, right? We come in to this world with what's called original sin, right? That's why we're baptized. Then we're baptized, Christians. Christ, to remember Christ, right? And it's to live his teachings, to live the way Christ lived his life and the way he taught us to live. And by doing so, we overcome those challenges, right? Those things in our childhood that we're holding on to, that we're so upset about, that we go to therapy for our whole lives trying to resolve. But if we would just look at that situation like I did, right? Like, I'm a first high school graduate, college graduate. Those things that you didn't like, instead of being so pissed off and carrying it for the rest of your life, change it. That's what your purpose is. Your purpose is to change it and to make things better. That's like anything in life. We get a hold of something and we just want to improve it, right? Cars aren't the way they were when they first came out. Somebody keeps improving them, right? Why can't we apply those same methodologies into the other aspects, especially within ourselves, to say, yeah, this really sucked growing up. I'm going to make sure that I make that change. That is how you change generational stuff. Right?
Yes.
That's how you change generational stuff. It's going to continue. If you think that you're being upset about it and angry and carrying it for the rest of your life, guess what? You're giving it out into the world. You're letting that chain of pain continue to filter through generations, because you're going to affect your children. You're going to affect all the people that are around you until you do something about it. And this, my friend Joy, this is exactly what I did when God hit the reset button on my life. When God hit that reset button, I said, you know what? I had gone to therapy, and this was when I was 40 when he hit the reset button. But I had those same things from childhood, right? Haunting me. And I think the older I got, the more that, and I had my kids, it was especially my girls, right? It was the things that happened to me as my girls started to grow up. I started remembering these things, because my girls would hit these ages and I'd start seeing things happen around them. And I'd be like, oh, Lord, right? And I'd freak out. And I probably was a kind of an overprotective parent just because I could see it, right? But now that when I had to do this healing thing, because when you go into therapy, you blame your parents or you take responsibility for crap that's not yours. And then you go back to therapy a few years later and then you just shift it around again, because the circumstance that you're going to therapy for requires a different perspective just to make peace, right? Just to make peace with it. But none of it ever healed it. blaming anybody or taking responsibility for what wasn't mine didn't ever heal it. Because there's always things that are attached to those behaviors, those patterns, those thoughts, those beliefs, right? There's always other things attached to it. But when I started to say to myself, Leslie, how can you take this and make yourself better instead of bitter, right? How can you do this for each situation? But I'll tell you what happened as I started looking at when they start rolling around in my mind or come up in my life, and I would really seriously stop, and I would really find peace and harmony within myself so that I could make balance, so I could be balanced. All of this stuff started just like dominoes, just like falling away. It was like things that just started healing. And this light bulb went off in my head. It was like this huge epiphany and of healing, one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing. It's almost like the opposite of going down that rabbit hole, right? The Alice in Wonderland. My God, this happened. Oh, and then I remember when that person made me angry. And oh, I remember when that person crossed me, or that person, right? But when I found peace and harmony, and when I made peace with it, and I didn't take responsibility for the things that weren't mine, and I held people accountable, and I held myself accountable, right? And I stopped blaming people for what was mine. It went the opposite direction, total opposite direction. And I started watching all these things that were attached to it start just. It was almost like they were. It's almost like they were going off, just like going off into nothing. Like it would be like a thing, but then it would explode into little pieces, and then it would just like fade away. And when I first experienced that, I thought, oh my God, all that. So it got exciting to me, right? It got really exciting to me because I thought, ooh. And then I looked forward to the next thing to heal and the next thing to heal. Pretty soon, you have purity of mind, body, and soul. You have purity of mind, body, and soul. And when you get to that point, there is $1.25 item of any store that they didn't charge you for that you could ever not go back and pay for. And I don't care if it's in another country, another state, you just send them a check, right? You just send them a check because there is absolutely no way. No way. I mean, I call people and I tell, oh, I'm sorry. And then they kind of look at you like you're crazy, right? It's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Leslie. I don't remember that. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I do. And it's about my soul, not yours. Right? I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Anyway.
I think that's beautiful. I think it's real beautiful.
It's how I did it. It's how I did it because, yeah. And it was, it's amazing how it worked. I sit back now and there's days when I just like, oh God, I just like, look within, Leslie, look within. And I'm like, I don't want to look within anymore. I'm done. I'm done. But, and I think that's all really, I mean, these books are so inspiring. And Joy, I have to tell you, I have only 2. So what other books? You're writing your 6th? Do share your other books.
This is the first book, and this is the 3rd book.
What are they?
First, 3rd. They're all series. This is the first book. This is the 3rd book. This one is the original. This one is about love or something like it. And like getting your swag back, like learning how to say different things to, it's just fun. The 6th one, I started fasting a couple days ago, and that's when it hit me. All of these different quotes started coming, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm in the mode of making number 6. So that's pretty much it.
So you're doing a water fast? Or
no, it was just me not being on social media as much. I would literally be on social media all day because, again, it's a business that I'm in charge of. So you have to be visible, you have to post, you have to do it. And I'm like the type of person that ends up venturing off into lives and stuff. So I would be in lives for hours and hours on end. There's nothing wrong with them at all, but I just felt like things were getting out of control. Like the person that I am was getting a little out of control in how I communicated with people. So it just came to a head, and I was just like, you know what? I need to stop. And so when I stopped, I was just fasting basically from, let's say, about 8 o'clock at night all the way till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I would drink water naturally because we have to stay hydrated. But it was good. And I feel now that I'm good. So I actually started posting again today and checking the DMs and, writing back if anybody wrote anything. But I feel so much better. I feel more clarity. When I say I feel better, I feel more clarity about situations that I have no control over. But I feel like it's resolved. Like I've gotten all the answers that I need to have, and everything's just going to be all right. And that's what I've been, And when I was fasting, I was like, please let me know. Am I being in the places where I'm going to be most effective and the best quality of living for me? And the answer was yes. I just had to like calm down a little bit. So that's all. That's all. And periodically, we all should be fasting from something that we love. Not humans, but like something tangible that we love that you feel like you can live, that you can't live without. You feel like it, whether it be food or, TV or something like that, or music or, whatever the case.
I actually, probably about 5 years ago, I seriously put my TV away. It's like I have a couch right here, and it was a huge 52-inch square flat screen TV, and I had to put it away. I took it off the wall unit. I put it behind my sofa. I even pushed the wall unit out of my family room. So my desk is here, my fireplace is there, my sofa's there, my kitchen's here. But I had to like get rid of my TV because it was absorbing too much of my time and energy. But there was a time when I needed it, right? There was a time when I needed to just, for me, with my thought processes, sometimes they just get so much, right? That I need that distraction, that instant change, like that, how it shifts every 5 seconds, to seem to keep you engaged in TV. I needed that to pull my brain out of wherever I was, because I would get anxiety from, I give myself anxiety with my own thoughts, right? I think a lot of people do that. But I would watch movies on TV. Now I can watch a movie. It's not that I'm really interested in the movie because I couldn't tell you what it was about, but I know that it pulled me out of the thought process and the feelings that I was having at the time, because nothing else was, I couldn't control it myself. So that now I can do that, but I can do that on my phone or on the computer, right? But I had to put my TV away because it was like control. It was a crutch for me. It was getting to be a crutch so that I didn't have to do certain things. But in the back of my mind, I know that it was still processing, but it was processing differently. It was processing not so intensely, and I was doing a better job because I'm a multi-thinker. Does that make sense to you? You know how you can have something here, but then the back of your mind's just going.
Keep them going, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how I did. That's how I did a lot of stuff. But social media, I like social media only because I think that's where I get my real news, because I can actually see the person speaking. I don't watch the news on TV because I see the contradictions, and it started really upsetting me. It really started upsetting me that I could see, the TV would say one thing, but I'm holding my phone and watching them, and it's like, no, that's no, right? And when you see it so much on the news and stuff, it's like, oh, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. So I had to get rid of TV. But back to fasting, I didn't even think about fasting. And, that really makes a lot of sense, about fasting and giving up other things in your life, right? That's almost like, when you give up things for Lent in the Catholic Church, we always give up things for Lent, right? So I gave up, most people are giving up chocolate and stuff.
Hard. That's a hard one because that's sugar.
Yeah.
That's an addiction.
I gave
That's
up
hard.
resistance. I gave up resistance. I said, Leslie, you are not going to resist things anymore. You are not going to swim upstream anymore. You are not going to have a thought and then argue with divine about why that person doesn't belong in your life, and why you shouldn't forgive them, and why you shouldn't give them a second chance. I mean, let me just tell you what, because I'd argue with the devil, because I argue with divine, right? They don't belong in my life anymore. I gave them enough chances, and all they're going to do is hurt me again, and they're just dishonest. So finally I said, you know what, God, I am not going to argue anymore. I'm going to start flowing downstream. I'm going to say, yeah, they deserve forgiveness. We all deserve forgiveness. We all deserve forgiveness. And I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm not going to let them back into my life until they come into my life authentically, their real selves. I'll apologize or something, right? They have to be, okay, I'll give them a chance, but they have to come correct. They have to come correct. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And then you can just like flow downstream, because none of us are perfect. We all deserve forgiveness. Just because we forgive doesn't necessarily mean you have to let them back in your life.
True.
You have to determine, within yourself, you have to look at each situation as different. And, some of us can forgive certain things and let people back in our lives, but other people can't. It just depends on where, your own individual stuff too, I think. This has been a fun conversation. Do you have anything else you wanted to share or add to this? I mean,
I
I know that I
honestly,
really want people to look at your business, because not only do you write these phenomenal books, you also you make things that are very unique. I mean, you're making shirts and stuff that are specifically designed for individuals.
honestly, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. That's number one. And remembering me after all of this time. I don't think I'm doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm just doing what I feel led to do. And I believe because I'm absolutely operating in my purpose, it has a bigger, profound effect on people. And whatever effect it has is for that time in their life to make a pivot, to pivot, go better, or pivot to stay the same, or just not do anything at all. So I'm just grateful that there are people like yourself who see something more than I see sometimes, and see my value. So that's very important to me. If anybody wants to support the brand or just wants to get to know Be the Difference a little bit more, you can go to the website bedifferencellc.com. Every social media platform, you can type in B as in boy, T as in Tom, D as in dog, LLC. That's BTD LLC, basically. And or go to Be the Difference Clothing. And also, we just started doing print on demand and embroidery services. So if people want bulk orders, or if you want to order something, there's no minimum. If you want me to help you design something, we can do that together. Or if you already have your design and you just need shirt printed, that's great. I'm actually in the process of printing some summer camp shirts for some NFL players. So that was a great sponsorship co-sponsorship opportunity that I have a chance to do. So, it's all about giving back, and the blessings will come in however they come in. But the fact that I could be one of the people, one of the businesses that actually put our energy into seeing that these kids have an amazing summer and have an amazing token from these players is just like, that's a great opportunity right there. So
I know
overall,
that
I really appreciate it.
we talked about that. You shared with me how blessed you felt that you could do this for the NFL players who were actually doing it for the children. And I don't know how much you can talk about that. Share what you can, because it was it was amazing. It was
About the
inspiring that
NFL
you get to
players?
do this. What?
You mean about the NFL players?
No, about that you have this ability to help these children. You're united with the NFL player. Just that whole thing, that short just explain it, because I think it's really amazing.
It's as simple as that. It was an email sent, and I thought about it more deep. And hopefully, I'll have the opportunity to speak to some of the kids. And the only thing I want to encourage them is by telling them to, like, if football is your thing, stick with it. Don't allow anybody to tell you any different. Try to stay encouraged, try to be kind to each other, even when it's hard. Just simple things like that. If I have the opportunity to meet them and talk to them for a few minutes. So that right there is cool. And every opportunity that we have, don't ignore. Please don't ignore. We end up having things in our lives that seem like a mystery. But again, if we consciously start manifesting with strategic things in mind and being very descriptive on what we want, we won't be having these caution type, is that for me or is it not? Or like, is this job for me? Is it not? Like, is this house for me? Is it not? Like, it would be so clear in your mind because you already had this conversation with God or whomever you believe in. You've already had this mapped out in your head, so it's not a surprise. So this has been mapped out in my head. As far as print on demand, I didn't necessarily map it out in my head, but it was part of the journey. In order for Be the Difference to be effective, you don't have to be like all of the other 500 companies. You have to just do what your company is branded to do, which is be the difference in every area, not be the same as every other for-profit business. Show that you can be for-profit and still give and still survive and still have integrity and still have people trust you and entrust you with their personal things. And personal meaning, like, I've done a lot of bereavement shirts. There was a time I was doing a lot of bereavement shirts. And that takes a lot. Like, I mean, maybe I think about it more deeply, but it's just like hard in with making sure that this actual picture is really good on the shirt so that they can have it for a long time. So they can remember that person as what they wanted to remember themselves. That's it for me.
What's a bereavement T-shirt? Because I've never, but now I'm thinking in memory of with the person's picture. I'm guessing.
Yeah, some have collages, some have different pictures, some have the actual obituary picture on there or the program picture. It's just sad, but it's still a reflection. Like, dang, eventually that's all will be to some people. It's just a picture. So make your legacy worth carrying on, whatever you do, y'all. That's it for me.
So give us your, what is your final thing? If you could say one thing to the world, because you're so inspired. I know this is going to you're probably going to bring me to
the one
now.
thing I would say, it would be, you are loved and you are loved. Never give up, never quit. Those are the exact things I would say. Just remember that you are loved and you have the ability to love. Because without love, we're all walking zombies.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast, and this has just been such a phenomenal time. I hope you've had fun, because I've had fun. I know we're going to have you back again, because it's we just need these things to bring us hope, to bring us joy, right? People need me to bring the world joy. I will bring the world joy. That is hysterical that I said that. Thank you again so much. And we're going to do this again soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you for joining me for this edition of Life Made Easier podcast. If you would like to learn more information on how to begin living your life easier, living from the inside out, please visit my website at lesliepazyak.com. That's LESLEYPAZDZIOCH.com. And if you enjoyed the content in this episode, please consider subscribing to the podcast. And also join us with other like-minded individuals on other social media platforms. Thank you again for joining this edition. I look forward to seeing you again soon on the next Life Made Easier podcast. Take care.